is, first of all, to present a hope. Secondly, to talk about a surprise. And thirdly, to present kind of a lament. First of all, the hope. I ask myself as I walk around and I look at the various people assembled here, who among us, and I'm thinking more of the younger people among us, who among us will emerge as the leaders of the church of the future? 100 years ago, the great leaders of the church of the 20th century were present in this assembly. Who among us will be a V.S. Azariah? Who among us will be a Charles Henry Brent? Or when you look at the very young stewards of this conference, who among us will be a William Temple, or an Otto Debelius, or a T.W. Manson, or a John Bailey? They will not be necessarily from Europe or the United States or from the minority world. But who among us will emerge as the leaders of the church in this coming century? My hope is that among the young people here, there will emerge leaders of the church who will take the church, conscious of the church's mission, committed to the church's mission, into our 21st century. This is my hope. Secondly, I want to just talk about a surprise that I had, and I hope it's a surprise that everyone has. My first evening, getting my tray and getting food and going into the dining hall and kind of being amazed by all the people and all the noise and everything else. I saw someone who turned out to be John Padwick, who was sitting by himself, and I asked if I could sit with him, and he said, well, no, I'm expecting someone, but then he said, oh, sure, sit down, and no problem. Well, someone he was expecting was Nikta Lubale Makika, who is the secretary of the Organization of the African Independent Churches. Wow, what a surprise. You know, to meet someone of that stature and to have a conversation, and Nikta and I have had several conversations throughout this meeting. A face is put on the African independent churches. What I really hope also is that, and I hope you'll be surprised too, that you've seen faces of people. Faces of people that you know, maybe didn't know before, or were just, you know, just names, or were just ideas, something like that. But that's so important. I think that's so much of what we are about in a conference like this. It's not necessarily all the stuff that is said. It's the people that we meet. It's the relations that we establish. Thirdly, a kind of lament. I mean, there's, you know, some laments. I wish, for instance, that there were more voices that could be raised from our great world, from our great church. I wish in the first night that Australia and Oceania and New Zealand had not been forgotten. But they were. I wish that we had honored Professor Andrew Walls a little bit more in his country. Someone who's been so important in this country. But I want to say something personal. I'll lament personally. And that is a lament that I wish I had danced last night. I wish that the Kaylee, I had actually gotten up the courage to dance. I met today on the path Beverly Johnson Miller. And she said, "Oh, you left early last night." And I said, "Yeah, I was just ashamed to dance. I was afraid to dance. I didn't want to." And yet she said, "You know, dancing is really what the ecumenical movement is about. It's an icon of the ecumenical movement. And it's an icon of mission. We don't really know what we're doing. You know, we try to move by the rhythm of the Spirit. And yet I didn't do it. And I lament that." So I want to finish my reflection this evening by saying what we said at our opening worship service today. In a way, lament, Kyrie eleison. And yet for what has been a marvelous conference, hallelujah. Thank you.